Increase microphone volume. Give me an all clear, please.
Yeah.
Uh, right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Right. Fans, comic book fans right there, fans of fiction, the universe, storylines, and all the great writing. I'm your man, as always, the big boss, the main host, the main chair, EKB, owner, founder, leader of EKB Productions. We are proud to present to you a, well, another, but yet a redo. Sorry about that. I know there was a problem, a little bit of a glitch with our last stream on the podcast. So as a courtesy to you, because we believe in quality over quantity, we are going to redo that episode. And we got some new information recently, so it's pretty good. It's going to be a great update for you guys to sit back and enjoy. So remember, like, share, subscribe, and comment, because we do it all for you, and we are proud to share our opinions and spare our good gracious and good vibes with you. And we're excited to talk about the topic today. Talk that shit. We are talking about some talking to you. We gotta have someone right in the booth right next to us, and I'm proud to present to you my new broadcast colleague right here, Jabba Jerry, right there. Tell him what's up,
What's
Gut.
up? Hi
Yeah.
guys, what's up?
All right, yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's start off with the simple basics here. How excited are you now about all these new slate of new projects that we've been talking about, and the direction of the DCU as it stands going in the future?
Me personally, like I do want them to see because from the past films that I've seen, like their track record isn't as great, but I feel like with James Gunn, like they could probably hold up for the next couple of years with the movie. So that's how I personally feel. And my excitement towards it, I'm somewhere in the middle of it as well.
All right. We're all rooting for the same things here. So let's dive right in, right there. As you know, to give a slight update, the DC Extended Universe ended with the showing of Aquaman 2 in the Lost Kingdom, which was a very decent, it was a very okay movie. I don't think it quite, because of certain writing mistakes right there, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute, the writing reached the same levels as Aquaman 1, but still managed to rake in a whole lot more cash than predominantly a lot of other DC Extended Universe movies. In recent memory, I think the best DC EU movie that came out, which I'm glad they're putting in the DCU, I want to caveat that, was Blue Beetle. A great origin
Yeah, Blue
story,
Beetle
a
was
great
definitely
coming of
great.
age story. That the actors were great, the stories were great, and it had a familiar feel to it, meaning you felt like, um, oh my God, I'm gonna trip over my words here. Shit, I should know this off the top of my head. Jaime Reyes, excuse me, Jaime Reyes' family, you felt like his family was your family. And like when he gets the girl at the end and everything, and he's still reluctantly a superhero, it's awesome. And the post-credit scene, finding out that Ted Kord, the original Blue Beetle, or the secondary Blue Beetle, depending on what continuity you're reading, is still alive, absolutely awesome. And I can't wait to see what they do with that in the future. We need Ted Kord to actually be Blue Beetle in the DCU. We gotta have that, the veteran right there, because he doesn't get any respect. He's been killed off in a lot of comic books, and I don't like it. It seems like there's a lot of more mileage in that particular character. So
Right.
moving to the future, James Gunn made a historic video which you can look up. I have it in front of me on my iPad here, called Chapter One, Gods and Monsters, where he walks through the next slate of DCU projects that are going to be approved within the next year in the first chapter. The video doesn't show the entire first chapter, it shows a part of it right there. So, and I'm already excited about part one, so you already know how I feel about part two. So the first project that was announced was a project called Creature Commandos. Right there. I want you to be able to see it. Let me increase it. Yeah, Creature Commandos. It's gonna be an animated series that was written by James Gunn during, ironically, when I did my best writing as well, for the most part, mentally, during COVID. He had nothing to do, so he decided to just sit down and write a 12-issue series for the DCU. He was just like, so you came up with Creature Commandos. It's a team of monstrous superheroes that gather together by Amanda Waller, who we'll get to in a second in the next segment, right there, of monsters who are doing infantry level missions right there all over the world and get into all sorts of mysterious, strange tales. It's really fun. Now, the really good thing about the Creature Commandos, aside from the fact that it's gonna have unique and interesting characters like um Colonel Rick Flag's father, Rick Flag Sr., because you know Rick Flag Jr. got killed off in the Suicide Squad. Fra- Captain Sergeant Frankenstein, Frankenstein's wife, GI Robot, and the Weasel, who is also from the Suicide Squad, as well as Fishbowl and Hothead. All of them awesome characters. Is for the first time ever. This was my idea. This is all my writing friends will tell you this. I always wanted to do this. That this was the first time we're gonna see this, and James Gunn doing it. No surprise there. He's gonna have the same people that voice the characters in the series, because it's an animated series, play the characters in live action. They're gonna bring this project out of animation into live action. They're gonna have the same exact people who are the voices play the actual roles. That is what really captivated me, because I said that's never been done before. I've never really seen that, at least not so far as a comic book movie is concerned. So I was like, shh. Can you imagine if they had Mark Hamill, who played the Joker in Batman the Animated Series, actually play Joker in a live action movie?
Right,
Your mind's
because I
already
know,
thinking about that.
and like, well, in certain continuity, for like certain shows, like they'll have some of like the same voice actors do like live action roles, but like this is like a big step for like the DCEU, well, the DCU, because like it basically familiarize a lot of fans with, you know, the same tone that they're going for, and really sets up like the whole universe as well.
Exactly, exactly. I'm super ecstatic for that. That's the first project, the first one series that's going to be in the DCU, and I think that's coming out. He said it's supposed to drop, at least I think he said it's supposed to drop this summer. So in a couple of months, that's the start of the DCU. The next project is a live action series called Waller. Now, Waller, I cannot stretch because it's funny. Me and Jabba just talked about it before we started the podcast. This is a series we both cannot we're ecstatic about. We just cannot wait to see it. It's a spin-off of James Gunn's Peacemaker, because I was just watching Peacemaker like episode 5 before this podcast started. I was explaining to Jerry that it is so awesome because we both love Viola Davis. Everybody loves Viola Davis. Everything Viola Davis do is just gold. She's just an amazing actress, and I've always supported her in every role she does. But she kills this role, and Amanda Waller as a character in her own right, without an actor, is simply phenomenal. She is the one consistent character in the DC universe, and I mean comic books, movies, and television, that stays very, very consistent and very grounded, and her motives are always the same. By that is expression from My Hero, Malcolm X. By any means necessary. That's how she is. She does anything to achieve her goals, and it's going to tell this really unique story. I'm trying to find the comic book so I can read it for myself so I can get some more background information on it. But it's going to follow the story of a post Peacemaker, where at the end, where the Suicide Squad is exposed, and Amanda Waller ends up in jail. She ends up in prison for paying for her crimes. First time ever she ever gets her comeuppance. But I think the narrative is going to be that the government has to get her out of jail because there's a problem in some foreign nation and they can't get their hands dirty. Amanda Waller is the kind of person you call when you have something that needs to get done, some shit that needs to get done, but you personally don't want to do it because you know that'll make you seem sketch as fuck. Amanda Waller doesn't mind being sketchy as fuck. And that's why I fucking love her. She is an awesome character and I cannot wait to see it. It's gonna be written by Crystal Henry, who made the Watchmen series, which you can also see on HBO Max, starring Regina King, and Jeremy Carvey, who I'm excited about because he wrote the series The Doom Patrol. And anyone who knows me knows I fucks with that show. I fucking love the Doom Patrol and comic books and characters in the TV show. Awesome. That series saved Brendan Fraser's career. That's what brought him back from the dead. Him playing Robot Man in Doom Patrol was how he got to audition for The Whale, which is what won him the Oscar. Love it. So I'm excited to see what these two can come up with. It's never going to be enough to be said about that series. Jerry?
Because honestly, I remember my introduction towards watching the Doom Patrol when Teen Titans, like the live action show, came out, and they did that crossover with them doing, I think, yeah, Beast Boy and Cyborg
Beast Boy
met
and
up.
Cyborg, yeah.
Yeah, Beast Boy, Cyborg, and also I think Raven was also there. But that episode really captivated, bringing in like the somewhat small crossover. And I felt like there should have been more of a crossover between the characters, because really, if we're getting if we were getting like the whole Teen Titans, I felt like Cyborg should have also joined up. But really, the Doom Patrol had like a fantastic cast. So from the few
The
episodes that
the
I saw
pacing
of
was
it.
good. The company was good. It had the right amount of drama and comedy, and it fits into their model, the world's strangest heroes, and that's what I really love about it. It stayed true to life to the characters that were being written. It seems like some people either go one or two routes with superheroes. It's either you have to be very, very serious, or you have to be very, very nonchalant, like, oh, good versus evil. And with the Doom Patrol, it's the right amount of both because the chief is revealed to be a villain in the end, and shit like that. His daughter ends up taking his place, but it's a coming of age story for her, and mythical creatures from her comic books come to life. It's everything you could imagine. So I'm really glad about that series as well. I fucks with that series. I could rewatch that over and over again and never get bored. But I don't want to spend too much time on it because I got to get to the next segment. So moving forward, this is the first movie that's been announced right here, and it's already got a release date, and I'm going to tell you that in a second too. It's Superman Legacy right there. That's the first movie that's not. This is the official start of the DCU so far as filmmaking and everything. Sorry, I have to keep this thing going. As far as filmmaking is concerned, and they're not going to retell Superman's origin story because frankly, I think even for the people that don't really watch comic book movies that often, I think everyone at this point knows Superman's origin story. So there's no point in redoing it. It ain't been like another 50 years where people then forgot who Superman is. Where okay, we need to retell and reintroduce people to Superman. We don't need to do that. Man of Steel ain't come out that long ago. It ain't really been that long when you think about it. This is a story of Kal-El of Krypton and Clark Kent finding the direct balance between his Kryptonian heritage and where he comes from, being a symbol of hope and what his father of Krypton wants him to be, and his farm boy upbringing on Smallville, Kansas, along Jonathan and Martha Kent as his parents, and squaring those two ideas between that and a more realistic world, because it's set in the modern day, in a world that increasingly, if you really look at our world today, doesn't really know or understand the concept or the ideals behind the concept of truth, justice, and the American way of life. Those are kind of outdated ideals in today's society, and Clark has to find a way to deal with that and find a way to heal the world that has become so drastically divided. And I think the inspiration he's taking for this particular book is, you're gonna hear me missing his name a little bit later again, but it's Grant Morrison. Grant, for those of you that don't know, Grant Morrison is the one writer who's responsible for writing the movie and the comic book All Star Superman. Anyone who knows me knows that is, so far as solo Superman projects, like Superman doesn't have to share a movie or a comic book with another person, that is my favorite Superman book, All Star Superman. It is the perfect catalyst to retell and really show not just how powerful and how great Superman is, but also tap into really idealism. Like, what does he mean? What does he mean to us? And what does he stand for? And would there be a place for him in today's world, in today's society? So I really am rooting for this project. It debuts July 11th of next year, 2025. The writer's strike did not affect this movie. Thank God. They are still sticking with their release date, July 11th, 2025. I'm ecstatic about it. It's written by James Gunn, directed by James Gunn, and I'm excited to see what his vision and take on on the world's first superhero really is. How about you, Jerry?
I think going into this movie, I really like. For me, I really wanted Henry Cavill to play Superman because literally, people have said his Superman is like second best to like Christopher Reeve Superman, but I think like telling this younger version of Superman is going to probably help, and the timeline and well, apparently time zone about this movie is going to take place within like probably like the early days, like the late 80s sort of world, but I really think that this movie is going to set the tone for everything, because this is like the number one project that's going to determine if James Gunn is going to do somewhat of a good job towards the whole DCU and if they are able to compete with Marvel. So I really think this movie can somewhat do what it's supposed to do, and yeah, like I really hope that this movie succeeds.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, so moving right along, the next project that got announced was another live action series called Lanterns. This is the story and retelling of the specific, not a retelling of any origin, but an reintroduction into the Green Lantern Corps, specifically from the perspective of two Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan, who is the first modern Green Lantern from the planet Earth, and John Stewart, who is the first human male African American to become a Green Lantern. Now we no longer have to have that. I'm so glad they're doing both of them as opposed to just one or the other, because if they chose Hal, the fans would have been mad that, well, what about John Stewart? He's the Green Lantern I grew up on. And then if they chose John Stewart, they'd be like, Hal Jordan's the first. So I'm glad they're doing both at the same time. And he described it as a true detective series, meaning because the Green Lantern Corps is essentially, it's a military institution that works like a police station. They have precincts all over the universe. The Green Lanterns from Earth are responsible for protecting our space sector, which is numerated as Section 2814. And in the series, they're supposed to be protecting the planet, but also discovering this internal mystery that, in the end of solving it, ties into the bigger story at the end of the first and second chapter. So I'm really excited to see what that is, because it's like a detective show but in space. So that should really be interesting, and I think this is necessary because we've never if you look back at our history of comic book films for DC, you've never seen a proper showing of the Green Lanterns ever. And there's a reason Ryan Reynolds did a Deadpool movie and then shot himself when he was reading the Green Lantern script. He wished he had never took that role, and rightfully so. That was disrespectful as fuck. And Ryan Reynolds is a great actor. I have nothing against him. I love Deadpool. I'm going to see Deadpool 3. I know this is a DCU, podcast because we're doing right now, but I'm going to go see Deadpool 3. It's got Hugh Jackman. It's got Ryan Reynolds. It's going to be fucking lit. So obviously, I'm doing a free advertisement for him, so I have nothing against Ryan Reynolds. But that was a horrible fucking movie. That movie, and like, I think there's got to be one other example. What's another example of a horrible DCEU movie? Yeah, the Justice League. Those are the two worst DCEU movies I've ever seen. Like, it's just horrible.
I liked the Justice League movie. I thought it was alright, but the 7 4-hour movie was too long. I'm like, y'all could have just had like a deleted scenes cut in the DVD release, in my opinion, for that.
In any case, it is absolutely necessary because if they're going to, well, we already know they're going to eventually introduce a new Justice League with these new actors, but it's essential because the Green Lanterns are founding members of the Justice League. So I'm really happy that we're getting finally a proper introduction, and it shouldn't be a movie. They did the right thing making it a series because a Green Lantern story is not really something you can tell in the space of a 2-hour film. Their characters are too complex and too multifaceted to get out in a 2-hour film. That's a mistake a lot of films make, is trying to pack too much into a short amount of time. That's the problem. I don't have a problem with this particular movie, but I know that's one of the issues that was wrong with it. The Eternals had great characters, great dialogue, great source material, way too short of a time span to tell that story in one fell swoop. Not gonna work. So that's the Lanterns, and I'm excited about that. So, moving forward, the next project. Oh, yes. Now, this was. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry. Wanted to make sure there wasn't an audio glitch. Okay. The next project that got announced was The Authority. This was a passion project of mine, and James Gunn said so as well. These characters are so vastly unique and so different. These aren't technically even DC characters. These are Wildstorm characters, which is a production company started by one writer in particular by the name of Jim Lee, who is, oh my god, another one of my idols. He was one of the greatest writers in the history of the later days of Marvel in 1980. He became one of the founders of what's now Image Comics after he left Marvel and went to DC Comics when they thought he was looking for a job. They was like, "Okay, I would love to hire you." He literally told them, "Kiss my ass, I'm not gonna work for you. I came here to tell you that I'm gonna be your competition." Started Image Comics, did so good with that. All his characters are still to this day under Image, are still multifaceted and very popular. And then came to DC later as its president and chief editor. So like, he's been all over the map, and he has his run on X-Men. The X-Men #1 that he wrote is still to this day the highest selling comic book in history. That's how critically acclaimed his work is. So, and the Authority specifically, which are under his umbrella, absolutely amazing characters. They're basically a different take on the Crime Syndicate, but in the right direction. Like, the Crime Syndicate is the opposite of the Justice League because they're from a parallel universe, right? But they're evil. They want to take over the entire world. The Authority aren't like that. The Authority are heroes that believe the world is wrong, the world is too corrupt, the world is too dangerous, and they're the only ones who can fix it, and they gotta do it. They have the Amanda Waller attitude by any means necessary. And I'm excited to see. And James Gunn said that these characters are going to feed into, as a whole, the rest of the the rest of the projects, movies, and TV that are going on in the DCU. So I am pumped to see how that's going to be depicted because all these characters are absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to spoil too much about it because it's still in development, but I think he's taking a special interest in this because a lot of people who do know these comic book characters are wondering how a authority, which is basically a Justice League, can come out before it's going to become right after the Superman movie, but before a Justice League and before a Batman movie. They don't, you see the order? It doesn't make sense. But I know eventually we're gonna have to get it. Superman versus the Authority. We're gonna have to get that because there's a book with them together and there's a book with them facing each other, which is the contrast to the movie Superman versus the Elite, which is my favorite Superman crossover movie. Because the Elite in that movie are just based off the Authority. Manchester Black is essentially Jenny Sparks. That's all the same person, just different universes. And I'm a lunatic fan of it, and I'm all excited for it. I literally bought all these new first edition. I don't bullshit. I don't talk about stuff I don't know about. I literally bought all these first edition Authority books specifically because not just because they were cheap and I got really good bargain on collectible items that are worth more than what I bought them for, but because I really want to know the stories. I like the source material. And so I'm extremely excited about that. I cannot stress that anymore. Yes. Jerry.
Yeah, like I remember when I watched the video when it first came out, a year ago. So I'm thinking, it's probably gonna be good. Personally, I never really heard of like some of these characters, but like I'm open to watching the movie. But like it sounds good, like from what I've heard that he was talking about. So I'm really hoping that we could probably get some good storylines, good crossover movies, and hopefully Elseworld Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover because like they had it on like Arrowverse and everything. Like they had like a lot of good people from like different eras and different universes from for the crossover. So I really think it's possible that we can get this later on.
Excellent, excellent. So moving right along, the next project that was announced was Paradise Lost. This is the retelling of the origins of the Amazons on Paradise Island, aka Themyscira, for those of you only familiar with the Justice League TV series. And it's gonna be the best way I can describe it is the way he described it, which makes a lot of you, I'm sure, for those of you that are real nerds that have watched this series before in the past, you'll know why it should be interesting. Game of Thrones. They're basically gonna go through a whole origin story of Wonder Woman without mentioning Wonder Woman to the very, very, very end. It's gonna be a whole Civil War, I kill you or die trying situation until the very, very bitter end. And it's extremely tantalizing and exciting, and it's an approach of introducing an old character but in a new way that I am so into because the original Wonder Woman movie, which came out, I think I could be wrong which year, but it was either 2016 or 2017, changed the game. I loved that Wonder Woman movie. Gal Gadot killed that role, and she deserves our flowers for that particular role, as does the director, because it was a female. For most of the production crew and craft was female. So I give it all to them. I give them all the glory and all the praise. But they obviously, once again, you cannot, just like with the Lanterns, you can't retell that same origin story. People get tired of hearing the same story over and over again just so you can get to something new. This time we're starting with something new and then going from there and going in reverse. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Yes, and it should be really interesting because there's not a lot of great background for this yet. The new Wonder Woman hasn't been cast yet, but I'm interested to see who they pick, and I'm hoping because of another new project that I'm going to get to in a couple of segments from now, they introduce Wonder Girl. They gotta give Diana a little sister. I would love to see the dynamic of her because you've never really seen that depicted in television or in movies. Wonder Girl has never really been mentioned. She was in the Young Justice series, which is the story of the Teen Titans, but in a new setting, which I'm hoping they bring back for another season. They got to do that. Darkseid's still coming. I have to know how that series ends. Seriously. So, with that being said, she was only there briefly. She was there as I think she was dating. She was dating Tim Drake, who was Robin at the time in the series, and she was just kind of introduced as just a throwaway extra character in season 2. I don't like that. I like when every character, I don't know, it's a lot to ask, but when every character is fully fleshed out, you can see the development. Even if they stay the same all the way through, that's fine. But it needs to be established. I need to establish a connection with the character in order to care about him. And I think that's why I'm so excited about the new direction they're taking with this particular series. Jerry?
And I think like going forward, like I really loved Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. Like literally, I feel like she broke the internet with like the way her character was and predicted, um, portrayed how everything was. Like a lot of people really didn't like the second Wonder Woman movie because like there was a weird scene where Trevor really possessed like someone else's body and there was like a weird scene with that. But overall I think going forward like this is going to be like a good movie. Uh well, good series, but like I really want a good actress that's going to play Wonder Woman to a T, because I think this is like one of their best characters, like main characters besides Superman and like the others. But personally, for me, I think the pacing really needs to just be a steady pace. Like there shouldn't be too much fast forwarding towards the rush towards the series, but I really hope that it stays kind of accurate, but also has an original feel towards it too, because like not a lot of movies, well, comic book movies have like an original taste to it, unless it's Marvel, but I digress over that.
I got it. I got it. All right. Moving right along. Now, this is the one I know you guys are. I mean, look at the shirt. I'm really excited most for this right there. The next film that was announced was the introduction of the DCU's Batman will come in Batman the Brave and the Bold right here. Now, for those of you once again that are super nerds that watch all the series like myself, we're not talking about the Brave and the Bold that was on the Cartoon Network, in late 2016, same time Young Justice was coming on. I love that series. That is my probably my yeah, probably my second favorite Batman series ever. I fucks with that series. It is awesome. But it's not based off that. That series was basically a retelling, a cross, trying to be a cross between Batman the animated series and the Adam West live action Batman series. That's not what this is. That has its place. This is different. And the unique thing about this is it's not, once again, you notice none of these projects, aside from a few, which we'll get to at the end, are origin stories. They're all basically taking characters that have already been well known and already in the public domain and then giving us a whole new story in parts that to dive into right here. As another layer to the ethos, pathos, and logos of these phenomenal characters. Same thing with Batman. Batman's no different because in this particular movie, it's called The Brave and the Bold because Batman's brave and the Robin is bold. They're introducing finally, for the first time ever, this has never happened in any movie, live action wise, and very few animated for different reasons. Damian Wayne, who is the illegitimate son, I guess you should say, of Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne. This is gonna be phenomenal because, firstly, for a couple of reasons. First reason is because if you look back in history, at all the movies, even before the DCU was made, way before that. If we go back to like the 90s, the early 90s, there has never, aside from two and a half movies, been a Robin beside Batman in any Batman film. The last time you've seen a Robin in a Batman film was Batman and Robin that had Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. You remember that? That was a couple of years ago, like 97, 98, right there. That's well over 18, I'm not good with math off the top of my head, but 18, 23 years ago, something like that. It's been that long. It's just been Batman in the movies by himself. That's got to change. I was so excited. And they didn't just go with Nightwing. They didn't just go with Dick Grayson again. Or even with Jason Todd, who I hope they introduce as well. We're going to get to that in a second. Or Tim Drake. They went straight to Damian. And that's a James Gunn favorite Robin. My favorite Robin personally is Tim Drake, but that's me, you know. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that, especially seeing the dynamic of Batman being an actual parent. Because you have never seen that depicted in live action. You've only seen that in animated movies. Son of Batman, which is a DC animated movie years back, and Batman versus Robin, which is a secondary take, which is a follow-up to Son of Batman. It's based off the books, again, I mentioned earlier, written by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison was the one who created Damian Wayne and introduced him into the continuity of the Bat family. When Batman was lost after the crisis, he became the Robin to the new Batman, which was under the guise of Dick Grayson, who had given up the Nightwing persona to protect Gotham as Batman. So I'm really excited to see what they do with these dynamics, because for the first time, again, this is a lot of firsts for this movie. They're introducing the Bat family. So not only will we get not only will we get Batman, not only are we getting Damian, meaning the confirmed people we already know, but we're also getting Nightwing. We could possibly be getting Red Hood or Jason Todd, Tim Drake, the third Robin, Red Robin, Batgirl, and or Oracle, depending on what times and continuity, and Alfred. Yeah, so all these characters together in one Bat Family movie, or Batman Incorporated, which is where they're going. I really hope they do, because that is an awesome title. I have a few copies of it. It is a phenomenal series. If you haven't read it, give yourself a chance. Go up to your local comic book store, or pop on Amazon and buy a copy. It is awesome. I could not be more excited to see it.
Also, I think going forward to, well, for me, like, personally, I wasn't like a real big Batman fan because, you know, he really didn't offer his villains. Like, that was like my biggest pet peeve about it, because I'm like, you know, and you got all these like crazy people like Joker or like Scarecrow, or like, you know, people running around like taking hostages in Gotham, and you wonder why, like, you know, Gotham, everybody's staying in Gotham. I'm like, that's crazy. But for me personally, I felt like he should have been killed Joker and stuff like that. That's my pet peeve about it. But like, I
If you
understand, like,
know,
no,
if you
but I
notice,
know.
by contrast, that is the baseline for the game. You know, for the game Injustice, Gods Among Us, right here. Superman ends up killing the one man that Batman would never kill, and then Damian, who was raised, again, just for those that don't know the origin story, he was raised by Talia al Ghul, who is the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, the League of Assassins, the head of the demon. He ends up killing Victor's ass in Arkham Asylum, and then joining Superman in his crusade, because he feels his way of doing business is the way he was raised. It's the right way. Instead of just locking people up and allowing them a chance to live and then to kill again another day, eliminate the problem right away. Kill those motherfuckers, and then the problem's over. But Batman, and by contrast, I guess this is where we differ, because the reason why you don't like him as much is the reason I love him. He is such a dark, brooding, psychological character, but his morals and you know, red lines are very, very clear. He always is like, this is the rule. We don't fuck the mission. The mission, yes, I'm committed to the mission at all costs. I will give up my life for this mission, which is what he's done. But he said, I will never take an innocent life. I will never kill anyone, whether the person's innocent or not. He's above it all. And if you notice by contrast, Amanda Waller at the end of her life, for those of you that watched Justice League Unlimited, if you watched the last episode in the first season, it's called Epilogue. If you haven't, go treat yourself. Just take a little 30 minutes out of your day to watch it. It's a great episode. It's set in the future, an alternative future, 85 years from now, where Batman's retired, Amanda Waller's retired, and his other son in that universe, Terry McGinnis, who is the new Batman, is Batman Beyond, literally goes to see Amanda Waller to ask why he thinks that Bruce basically more or less conned his way into being his father, biologically as well as physically. And Amanda reveals to Terry, I don't want to spoil too much, but I guess I have to in order to explain the story, reveals to Terry that Bruce was not the one responsible for creating Terry and, slicing together their DNA. She was. Because the world needs a Batman. In order to create him, she may have made him biologically, but didn't give him the drama that came with it. Like she didn't kill off his parents, but one of his parents ends up getting killed anyway. Not by her, but by somebody else. And it's fate and destiny that tied them together. And he says to the contrary of it, he says like, Amanda Waller was set to hire somebody to kill Terry's parents, and her assassin couldn't do it, and then convinces her that that was the wrong way of doing business. And then Amanda realizes it too. She realizes, if I'm going to honor everything he says for, she got it. She says Batman. People say Batman's obsessive, which he is. That he would do anything to achieve his goals, which he would, but he would never resort to murder. And so, if people are going to honor everything that he stood for, neither could she. And that's what I love. He has such a profound effect on everybody that he touches or interacts or reaches with. And that's why I said why I love Injustices too, because if you notice the contrast, people think Superman has the moral high ground all the time, like he never would turn to the dark side, and then Batman's up here the whole series. Even when he has the opportunity to kill everyone there, he just doesn't. He maintains it, even when he's lost everything, and I love that about the character. So I'm super excited for Batman, the brave and the bold. Yeah. So moving right along, the next character and the next series announced is very close to my heart as well, because this is, as you guys know, is my late father's one of my late father's favorite comic book characters. It's a series they're doing called Booster Gold, and essentially Booster Gold, for those of you that don't know, his tagline literally is on his books. I think it's on all of his books. Is the greatest hero you never heard of, and rightfully so. I'm willing to take a little bet, a little wager, that before to this video, that predominantly most of this audience has never really heard of Booster Gold. They might have seen him in passing or seen him in the series or something like that, but don't really know anything about the character. For those that don't know, Booster Gold isn't from here. Like, he's not from the modern timeline. He's from the future, specifically the 31st century, which is where the Legion of Superheroes are. After Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, the Martian Manhunter, Flash, and Green Lantern all have either died or retired. They've all moved on in life, and a new generation of heroes is there. He's not one of those heroes. He's, depending on which continuity you're reading, he's a former football player, star football player for college football, that started betting on his games and got caught and then got thrown out in disgrace. And I think they tied those two origin stories together. So he gets thrown out in disgrace. He ends up taking a job at this grand superhero museum, like how the Flash has a museum in all continuities now, where they had a whole museum just for superhero memorabilia. The Flash's ring, the treadmill, Batman's cave, things like that. He ends up working there as a security guard to pay the bills, and he gets this stupid idea in his head, or this grand idea, to steal some of the memorabilia that's still working from the museum and a time travel device, travel back to the 21st century when all these great heroes were in existence, and become a hero in his own right. But he wants to do it in such a cool way. It's the perfect example of two things: imposter syndrome and what happens when a superhero tries to become a celebrity. Like, for those of you that watch the Amazon series, I only watch one. I only watch Invincible because that shit is the bomb. But For those of you that watch the other one, The Boys, Booster Gold basically wants to be Homelander. He wants to be that hero that's above it all. People love him. They give him endorsements. They give him money. He sets up this company called, I think it's Booster Gold LLC Holdings Company that like handles his TV deals, his merchandising, his interviews, everything. He becomes this celebrity hero that always gets his ass kicked, but somehow finds a way to win in the end in some crazy, ridiculous way. The best depiction of him, this is why you need to watch the series. The best depiction of him in TV was Batman the Brave and the Bold. Go watch that. That is awesome. And that's exactly how he is. But also, in the end, there's a flip side to it. And I don't know, that's why I'm hoping this series gets like 4 or 5 seasons. Because in the end, he ends up flipping his personality entirely. He grows and matures as a person and becomes the Time Master. And people don't realize, because he's still, to keep a persona, he still plays the arrogant jackass. People would never think that this guy, kind of like Shazam, like when he's, being so immature, most, people still don't realize because he's full adult when he says Shazam, that he's a little kid. Same principle, but in reverse. No one would think that this guy, this unsuspecting jackass, is actually the protector of the sacred time. He's basically the DC's version of Loki. He's the protector. He's the god of the timeline right now. And it's awesome. And he also has a great friendship and partnership with the original, that's why I said it at the beginning, the original Blue Beetle, who is Ted Kord. Blue and Gold. That's what the name of their team was. And I hope that they put that in a series or a movie as well. It's awesome. There's so many directions to take with this character. It's so layered, and I super stacked to see what they do with it. Jerry.
And like when I saw him, he reminded he. I will say like I'm kind of getting Adam Warlock vibes as Star-Lord from like Marvel based on like the picture I've seen, but like I think this could be very interesting going forward. Like I do have an actor in mind for it, but like I really won't get into that until like
To be honest with
it's
you, I think
time.
if he hasn't already, well, he could do both. I think Ryan Gosling could totally play Booster Gold in the series right now.
Yeah.
Or Ryan Reynolds if he dyes his hair blonde. Like this is the character Ryan Reynolds actually could play, because the way he acts in real life is the way Booster Gold acts in all depictions. She's exactly like that. The way he played Green Lantern is the way he should play Booster Gold. That's basically how he is. Because you gotta find the right actor to fit the proper role. So with that being said, I'm super excited about that. So the next project that was announced was this is the first depiction of a proper, what we call, film adaptation. It's a very popular book, one-shot series called you see the series. They use the actual book cover, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, this particular book was written by Tom King. It was a one-shot series that explores as you guys know, Superman's origin story already. Kara Zor-El was a little bit older than him and was there to see the destruction of Krypton firsthand, and was raised on this little chunk and was exploring and flying through the universe, but essentially raising herself. The book shows her landing on one particular planet, and it's involved in this massive, I think, mercenary revolution at the time, where she goes through and has to become basically the savior of this whole planet in one fell swoop throughout as she travels throughout the universe. She meets a lot of new friends. She ends up meeting a dog, which becomes, in that continuity, becomes Krypto, the super dog on Earth, as we know from Superman. It's crazy. It's gonna be a really, really phenomenal film, and it's gonna be, the way he described it, a sci-fi film, and solely focusing and zeroing on the character in her own way from that perspective, as opposed to a spin-off or an extension of Superman, which is what I don't want, because a lot of the backlash you find you get when you comes to heroes that are named after other heroes, aside from like Wally West, who was Kid Flash but eventually became the Flash, aside from examples like that is that when they do characters like that are female and young and then the symbols of the male, it kind of diminishes the character. Like Wonder Woman's her own person. She can stand up to Superman and Batman and anyone else. That's why people love her so much. But when it comes to like Supergirl and Batgirl and Bullet Girl and all these other side female heroes, it always gets diminished in that. And so I'm glad that they're separating in terms of not just the spacing of the time of the movies as well. And she's on a separate venture somewhere else entirely so far away from Kal-El and establishing her own identity. And I love it. I'm excited for it. I've read that book, or I'm getting another copy of it sent, but so I can read it again. I am really, really excited to see what they do with the movie. And I think it'll be a nice, fun little watch. Not every movie has to necessarily be a ground spilling like, oh, there's got to be something bigger than this coming. Sometimes it's a one-shot deal where it's just awesome, and then after that she can come to Earth and then interact with the rest of the heroes. And I think that's the direction that they should take with the character. Jerry.
And I think basically like this origin story is going to be good, but like the portrayal of Supergirl, like we really haven't gotten any good live action well, I want to say good, but like we really haven't seen Supergirl in live action since
Technically, the
the
last
Flash
time's
movie.
The Flash.
Yeah,
To be
the
honest, that
Flash movie, but
I don't think that car was bad though. I don't think she did a bad job. Ezra Miller is a
like
shitty
it
person, but I don't think that's her fault.
But I really think like the best live action Supergirl that we gotten was from like the Arrowverse, and I think like she did good in her own series. But really, I'm just hoping that it is a good movie because I know a lot of people are going to critique it based on like the actor, the dialogue, and I really don't think it's because the actor, but I feel like it's basically the writing and really with James Gunn directing and everything. If you've seen his past films, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he really hasn't had like a bad track record with
No,
it. So I think this movie,
everything he's ever written, even ones that weren't superhero. Most people don't realize this, but he actually, along with Freddie Prinze Jr., he wrote the live action Scooby Doo films as well, right there. So he's not only written superhero films, he's also written for cartoons and other different forms of media. He, in his own right, he's become a hero in his own right, a cult hero, because he's got his, he's such a junkie. He's got his finger right on the vein and the pulse of what it means to be a fan. He never lost track of what people actually want, what does he like, and what do other people might like, what does he want to do. And he put it in a video, and as I do all these podcasts all the time when I talk about movies and stuff like that, is I'm a writer. The writing is key. It's all about the story. I tell my students this all the time, is like, what idea are you trying to convey? What story are you want to tell? Concept do you want me to walk away with, or what do you want me to think about? What questions are you asking? Who, what, when, where, why? What are we discovering? All those things are relevant, and it comes out when you tell or write a story. And I think that he has better than most people when it comes to comic book films, has always kept that in mind. He's a quality guy. He's not thinking about, oh, I just need to put out every single project I can. It's like, no, the quality of it. What am I actually trying to write? And what is the objective here? Where is this going to go? And he has his eye, he has a tunnel vision focus. And that's what I love about.
so yeah, like really going forward, I think this has a good chance of really being a good movie, and I really hope for the best with that
Yeah,
casting as well because there should be like certain people that should play certain characters as well.
yes, absolutely. So the next and final project that was announced, but I'm gonna mention two small others after this, just as a follow up, is was Swamp Thing. Now, I'm super, super jazzed to see this project because it's the first and only DC Elseworld project that has been announced within the context of the DCU. Meaning, it's not gonna tie into the main story like the big bad villain that's at the end of the third or second chapter, but it will be able to tie into it, and you can come back to it. Like he can go into that if he wants to. It's a separate story that's going to be told, telling the origin of the monster. It's essentially it's a monster with amnesia. For those of you that don't know the origin story, he's retelling the origin story. It's going to be a horror film, so it's going to be really set different. I'm hoping it gets rated R because it's got to get. If you're gonna go horror, you got to go all in. Got to go edge, balls to the walls. And you've seen an example when Marvel tries to do that and then bullshit the way around it, like they did with Echo. The Echo series was something I was really looking forward to because I'm a big Daredevil fan. I'm a Daredevil guy. Echo's from Daredevil. And the Kingpin always is good. Vincent D'Onofrio, oh my god, he's goated. I will never get tired of seeing Kingpin in my film. Give me more Kingpin. But the thing about it is, when they said it was supposed to be our first take on a violent character, so we're going to do rated R, I was like, okay, cool. I'm all in. Give me that shit. You notice that like only like six, if you really count, and I'm not, it's not about, I'm not obsessed with death or anything like that, but if you notice, only 8 people get killed, and then like she kind of does some cool fight moves, and she's good, and it's not Maya Lopez's fault. The actor who plays Maya Lopez was awesome. It's not their fault. It's the writing. It's like, and then at the end, she lets Fitz go, which I expected, but like she gets those kind of okay-ish powers, which are unnecessary because she's a killer assassin, and I prefer that she say a kick-ass assassin and just scare her off and try to become king because that's what she said. She was trying to become the new queen, take down Kingpin, and it fell flat. I was like, once again, it goes back to that writing is king thing. I was like, no, I was pumped, and I told all my friends to watch the series, and now I feel like I lied. Like I backed myself. I approved of a lie. Like I put it up here when in reality the standards were like this, very low. So you commit to that, and how I know and how I can predict it is going to be good. I know that we've been talking a lot about James Gunn, but there's one other director aside from the ones that are doing Waller that I want to give a shout out to, and that's James Mangold. He's going to be directing this project. For those of you that aren't familiar with James Mangold work, all you need to know is one piece of work, one word: Logan. The movie Logan was directed by James Mangold. It is still to this day one of my top 5 favorite comic book films ever created. And that had everything. It had drama, it had action, it had violence, it had a vision. And I absolutely fucking love it. So if that's the direction they're going in, and James Gunn's, producing and him directing, and this is Swamp Thing, which is literally is exactly like that. It has everything you could think of. It has horror, it has violence, it has action, it has death and romance. And it's romance too. It's all those things. He's a very, very complex character. Even if you play the Injustice game, the part where they're in Slaughter Swamp, he seems as if he's a very mundane and complex character. That's why there's very few scenes you see him in. It's like that. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm excited about this particular project because um, if you look it up how many times Swamp Thing has been depicted in live action, it's over 8 times since 1980. That's how good of a character is, because producers and directors feel that this would be a character that would draw money and draw interest, and it does, but it's never been depicted right. The writing's not there, the direction's not there. The last Swamp Thing series they made was in I believe it was 2018 or 2016, and the series, as soon as the pilot dropped, it got canceled. I was like, you have one of the best fucking possible characters you can write. That's been produced and made. This is going to be based off the saga of Swamp Thing, which is written by another prolific writer and director, Alan Moore. For those of you that aren't familiar with Alan Moore, where the fuck you been? He's the one responsible for writing the series The Watchmen, which is the one series that has never been out of print in the history of comic books. It's a great graphic novel. It's basically a deconstruction of what it means to be a superhero. If you haven't seen the movie or haven't read the series, I recommend doing both, like getting the book and then watching the series. But go do it. You owe it to yourself to go see it. If you don't think that's not enough, he is also the one responsible for writing the Batman book, The Killing Joke. Yes, he's the one who made Oracle. It's that big. He's that good. So if you can take those ideas and apply them to Swamp Thing, put them with James Gunn who made Logan, put them with James Gunn's producing, you know you're gonna have a bomb ass fucking movie, and that's why I'm so excited about that. Yeah, Jerry.
I remember, I think like a couple years ago, they had a teaser for Swamp Thing, but they never came out with. I think it was supposed to be either a show or a movie, but they never came out with it. So since we're finally getting it, hopefully it's good. But like the rating on it, I I really think like they're probably gonna go like PG-13, PG-14 because like they really want everyone to see this. But like I think this movie may be good depending on how they want to do it. But overall, I think going forward, this may be a flop. That's in my opinion because the story, the character, maybe like Swamp Thing isn't really known of a character unless you play like Injustice. But that's just my personal take on it in total.
All right. Well, we all have to feel free to agree to disagree at times. Okay. Well, I hope. Well, I hope you're wrong on that. Okay. So there. Okay. So that's the last of the projects that were announced. But there's also two other separate projects. One project that just got announced a few weeks ago, and another project which is an Elseworld project, which I'm also excited about, which I'm going to get into a second. The first one was they just announced a few weeks ago, put out a press release or at a press conference, that they're also doing a live action movie of the Teen Titans. Instantly got my interest because for those of you that it seems like the Teen Titans are always around in some depiction in DC, no matter how many times regime change happens or there's a new direction for the company or whatever it is. I really, really love the Teen Titans. And I know all of you, everyone watching this video, I know for a certain amount of facts, they've either seen, heard, or watched all the way through or experienced the animated series, The Teen Titans, which came out in 2005, 2006. That's our Teen Titans. Like, to our generation, that was our Teen Titans. We Robin, Beast Boy, Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. That was our Teen Titans right there. Now, we later learned that the Titans actually expand a lot longer than that because it's like basically every young hero and sidekick together. And I'm excited about all of them, don't get me wrong, but that was our main continuity. And then the years go on, and then that series went off the air, but people were claiming for it to bring it back, and then they did Teen Titans Go, which I hate. And then it's no disrespect to anyone who likes it, whatever. It makes a lot of money, it makes a lot of toys. I get it. But I'm an older person, so I'm not childish, so it doesn't appeal to me that way. There's certain episodes I watch, like just for a laugh, just for a quick laugh, like that episode. I do watch it because I like that episode where they do the Beast Boy likes burritos and Cyborgs likes burgers, so they do like a burger burrito smackdown, and then they like make giant kaiju monsters of burgers and burritos. It's fun, and that's cool, and that has its place, but that's not for me. And then they did a live action called The Titans, which was a HBO Max series. I started to watch that, but then like after like the first or second season, it fell off. Like as soon as they moved them into the Titans Tower, which is stupid because if you watch it, it's just a tower. It's not shaped like a T. In every other depiction of that tower, that's the whole point of the Titans Tower. It's shaped like a big ass T. It's literally that cool. That's what it's supposed to be. It kind of stripped away everything that made that, those characters special. And I'm all for inclusion, and I don't care about race, especially since this is live action. But Starfire being black, it's not like I really have a problem with it. But when I'm so used to one image, like it seems iconic. She's an alien. She has to have that orange skin. It's not like you can't have a black actor still playing her, but like, just have her in the orange, like CGI it or whatever you want to do, like She-Hulk, but better, because I hate She-Hulk. But like, and do that.
I thought She-Hulk was good. Like personally, between like her and
Oh
the
God, I don't.
actress that plays
I
Starfire,
really don't. I really want
I
to talk about
really
that. That
well
series was
from
just so shit. I mean, the fuck, a robot at the end that just changes everything and makes it null and void. And the joke is that it's Kevin Feige. Okay, I get it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like making her like Deadpool, that wasn't the problem. She can break the fourth wall. It's fine. And it's like a modern family Mary Tyler Moore situation where it's a woman on her own trying to get her way in life. I get that. I got the concept. It wasn't like I didn't see it. The writing was just fucking terrible. That was like the worst. And there's a reason why it has a horrible rating. And they said they're not gonna renew She-Hulk. There's a reason for that. You gotta realize that. When something ain't selling, there's something wrong. So it makes sense. So with that being said, I hope that they do a really phenomenal job with this movie, and I hope that it has a not a heavy focus on kids or anything, but a heavy focus on like young adults, maybe a 19 to 37 age range, focus. So has a mature storyline, something with Deathstroke because they need to bring Deathstroke back in to the DCU, and I hope they use the same actor that was at the end of Justice League because it's unfair that him and Ben Affleck could not do that solo Batman project. I thought that was gonna kill because I was so excited to see Batman versus Deathstroke in a movie. I'd never seen that. We'd never seen that. Now we might not, at least not in that universe. We might be able to get lucky enough to get it in this universe, especially if he's in the Teen Titans. It's easy to transition. Like I can get out the Titans, but I can still get a Batman, which kind of seems like a backwards thing. But if the story's good enough, people will buy it. I learned that a long time ago. So that's the Titans. I'm excited about that. And we'll do some fantasy booking for who we think should play what role a little later in a different video. But for now, speaking of Batman, the final project that we're going to talk about is the Batman Part 2. Once again, wearing a shirt, y'all already know I'm a lunatic Batman fan. Now, the thing about this is, I just got some distressing news a few weeks ago, is that because of the writer's strike, the script for the Batman 2 was never even finished being written. So it was supposed to come out October of this year, like it did, like it happened. The first one came out in March 2023. This one's supposed to come out October this year, like Halloween time. And I was excited. I was like, oh my god, I'm on it. I'm gonna see that like 7 times. I'm gonna do a review on it for a podcast. And I was like, oh shit. But then they were like, it hasn't been written, so we're gonna need a whole another year to write this script. So then they delayed it all the way until 2025. Which I guess is okay because you get Superman Legacy, you get the Superman Legacy and Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four MCU movie, happening in the same month of July, and then you get the Batman in October around Halloween. I guess that's fine. I mean, I'm all for more superhero movies, but I'm like, nah, that kind of pissed me off. I was like, fuck, because I was so looking forward to see what the story was gonna be because we haven't heard any information about what the new villain is. I mean, we already know what Robert Pattinson's going to do. We already know what Matt Reeves is going to do because they have a proven track record. Look at the poster on the wall. I put that up there for a reason because I fucking love that movie. That is my favorite, aside from The Dark Knight, which is pretty much like by default everyone's favorite. That was my favorite Batman movie, and so I'm really looking forward to see what they come up. I mean, they have more time now, so now I'm expecting twice as good as a story. And we as fans are speculating on who the next villain should be. I personally am rooting for either Clayface or Mr. Freeze, one of those two villains, to be the next big bad villain in Batman Part 2. And the messed up part about it is because James Gunn said they won't affect Matt Reeves' Batman because that's an Elseworld project, is that they're also stating that they're introducing Dick Grayson as Nightwing in that series, in that series of movies, and I'm happy. And kind of conflicted at the same time because I want to compare the two, like Batman the Brave and the Bold and Batman Part 2, to see which has the best depiction of the Bat family. We're getting two Bat families in two separate universes in one umbrella, and so that's really thrilling for me as a fan. More Batman is never bad. I will never turn it down. Jerry.
And from what I've heard too, like they're supposed to be having uh the Joker come in for the second movie because he was teased at the end of the first movie. Then from what I've heard due to reports online. We're supposed to get a Penguin spinoff series on HBO
Yeah, the
Max.
Penguin series is coming in a couple of months. Yeah, they already approved that. It's already done.
So with that, like, personally, I really didn't like the live. That Batman movie. Like, I've really want to fall asleep during it, but I really think like it did have its key moments, but it's set to be more of a much darker tone than what we're used to seeing. But like, I really liked Alfred, and James Gordon, like the actor that played James Gordon. It's also the same dude that voices the one guy in what else, the entity, I forgot, yeah, the Watcher. So really, I think the casting was alright, but really it was just the pacing for me. Like, I really did not like the pacing.
Yeah, I can't sip none of that haterade, bro. I'm sorry. No offense, but like, hey, once again, that's the good thing about comic books. It's like ice cream. There's a flavor for everybody. You're always not gonna like every single flavor. It is what it is, right there. Some people like that chunky monkey crap. I don't like my ice cream to have bananas in it. That's just me. So for okay, but I'm so glad to all of you watching that you could have the opportunity to make us a part of your Sunday night entertainment and join us for this wonderful discussion about the future of DC Comics and the future of the DC universe. And I also want to encourage you to get involved in the conversation. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Head over to our website to read yourself some articles, and also subscribe to our Discord and YouTube channels if you want to get involved in what we do, as well as look back at our other videos and see if you want to make a suggestion for what we can do better, what you want to see, what you want to see us talk about. We're always here for you. We are happy to do it, and because we love what we do and we love it, we do it for the art. It's all about the writing. We do it for the art. I cannot stress that enough. So from all of us here at EKB Productions, we thank you, we love you, God bless you, good night, and some good fights. Okay.